Lynn Cullen goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, now we're on. Whoa. Gave us quite a scare there, Mr. Potter. Just walking through the door.
Sorry.
Hello there.
Hi.
Taking it all in. I see he's got the eyes of a intrepid reporter. Eyes scanning.
I have the eyes of the parent of a toddler who.
Oh, I love this. Okay, Guy, you tweeted about this today.
Yesterday morning, he's downstairs in the kitchen and he spots an empty beer bottle on the kitchen counter, and he says, very brightly, "Dada cup." Which probably isn't a great sign. And then this morning, he takes my coffee off of the little train table where I stupidly left it and picked it up and just deliberately dumped it right on my lap. So is this is this some sort of toddler equivalent to holding an intervention or something like that?
You think he suggested you do more coffee and less of the Dada cup?
Yeah.
I wouldn't read
in a year or two. He'll be able to say things like, "This family is a den of lies," and things like that, and secret shame.
Yes.
But yeah,
get ready.
Also, I'm just he was screaming last night, so I'm a little out of it. And
if we were to start toting up how often you use your child, exploit your child as an excuse.
For my own shortcomings, yeah.
So
right, well, again, establishing a positive dynamic for the years ahead.
That's right.
Look at it this way: he'll be blaming me for his shortcomings in about 10 or 15 years. So that all comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
Anyway,
parenthood is about as humbling an experience as there is.
The other thing I've had going against me is the first lyric. I don't know if people remember the TV show The Facts of Life. The first lyric to the theme song from that show has been playing in my head continuously.
All right, let it out.
I'm not going to sing it because I don't want to put other people in that position.
You think that just
I think it's
saying it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Thank you very much. Yeah. That's a very
no. I'm all about public service.
He's going to bear the burden by himself, and it is heroic of you, Mr. Potter.
Yeah.
So the big news is the Pope has tweeted. You heard he had a Twitter account.
I did.
But he hadn't tweeted anything. He already has a Twitter account. He's already got like 500,000 followers, and he tweeted today.
Really? Let me just see if I can guess. What's up with Snooki? LOL. No?
No. It's, by the way, if you want to follow the Pope, it's at Pontifex.
Oh, very nice. That's
what
at
that?
Pontifex. That's Pontiff is father, and I think so. Pontifex Maximus, I think, is the formal title, like the Supreme Father.
Well, it's Pontifex.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
A good handle.
I'm surprised nobody else used it.
Well, whatever. Here it is.
I really missed a chance there.
This is from Pontifex, his first offering into the Twitterverse. Dear friends, I am pleased to get in touch with you through Twitter. Thank you for your generous response. I bless all of you from my heart.
How many followers does he have?
He's got a gazillion. He's got like 500,000. I mean, obviously growing. So, I mean, people immediately answered back. And one, Eileen Blackwell wrote back, at Pontifex, God bless you, Papa. Right? And here's another one from an enemy of the state.
Oh, good. What's up with Snooki? LOL.
Yeah, right. An enemy of the state responded, at Pontifex, greetings, Trifelge Putinard.
What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. Wait a minute. Our humble reverences are with you in your califragilis extrapolations. Glory, O bright one.
Oh, that's less. I thought it would be more like.
Well, I don't know.
That's somebody.
I think it's making fun of the sort of portentous or and someone else.
I am blessed. So, dear friends, I am blessed to get in touch with you through Twitter. Thank you for your generous response. At Pontifex, right on, bro.
That was another one.
There you go.
There he is. The Pope. The Pope is now on Twitter.
Yeah. I think this is actually one of the I think that's the third of the seventh seals. Is like when the
you
Pope
think when
goes
the Pope
on
gets
Twitter,
on Twitter,
yeah.
Or how about when Pittsburgh makes today Wiz Khalifa Day?
It's funny you brought that up.
Well, why? Because
I just thought it was funny.
Oh,
I wondered.
No, I would not have brought it up. I happened to. For some reason, because I never watch the news anymore, but for some reason I saw him at City Council and having a good time. His mother was in tears. She was so proud. And I happened to turn on, when I got in my car this morning, the blowtorch station.
Oh. Was Marty Griffin up in arms?
It wasn't Marty, I don't think. It was someone subbing for him. Oh, my God.
Because he's a pothead.
It was call after call. No, it was the people of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And they were suggesting that this was the most outrageous thing that could possibly happen.
Right.
Wiz Khalifa. This dope-smoking, misogynistic hip-hop blah, 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 with blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I'm willing to bet that most of the people who were calling, first of all, I've never heard Wiz Khalifa's music.
This is probably a safe bet. Not a lot of overlap in the hip-hop audience in AM talk radio.
All right. And then the show host, whoever that was, said, and he can't take credit for the fact that his song, became like something. That's the Steelers who took his song and made it into, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
First of all, there is, I don't know how big it is. How big? What percentage of the population do you think exists solely for the purpose of being outraged and offended? I mean,
more and more of us.
Don't you?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. At least, yeah.
I compare it to the Arab street.
Right.
they're like our Arab street, right? They are ready at a moment's notice to start
to the airwaves,
hollering, screaming, this is the end, oi, 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 they ululate, they this and that, oh my God, you would think it's always the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm so sick and tired of them. But it occurs to me that for these people, and it's a sizable chunk of us, we've sort of been programmed, I think, they've been programmed by talk radio, by the cable stations, right? That this is the way to be an informed citizen,
right,
or to be
really worked
a
up.
Connected citizen, to be in a constant state of outrage. And I forgot what I was saying.
Whereas our approach is to be in a state of outrage intermingled with periods of despair.
And with frivolity. You can't just do outrage. And their outrage is often so silly, so stupid, so parochial, so limited, so frighteningly small is the universe they inhabit.
Right.
Actually, one of them said, I don't know if it was a show host or one of the callers. Oh, it's a show host something. Why couldn't they find a black doctor from Pittsburgh and make it and I'm thinking, this is what it boils down to for them.
Yeah.
That he's black.
Yeah.
And he's from a community that they don't get, they don't understand, and they're scared of.
Also,
so they said, if you're going to give a proclamation and make it Wiz Khalifa Day in Pittsburgh, then the least you could do is give it to someone we can identify with as well.
Yeah,
like an MD.
Right, but here's what I'd say about that. They do give proclamations to people like that. I mean, not necessarily doctors, but community leaders and folks who are... Look, I mean, I've been watching council...
Let me tell you.
Every day.
Let me tell you. Every day is somebody day. Let me tell you how much this doesn't mean.
You got one.
That is correct.
Right.
I saw Wiz holding his little blue proclamation thing with the proclamations inside, and you know what I thought to myself? Yeah, Wiz, I got about 7 of them.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
It was Lynn Cullen Day in Pittsburgh. I don't know when the hell that was, but it was. And I've got one from the governor. Huh? I've got one from the state legislature. I got one from county council. I got so many proclamations of what an extraordinary human being I am that whenever I get a little down, I just take them out and look at them.
Yeah.
It's hooey. Yeah. It's hooey from beginning to end.
But this kind of speaks to your point. I mean, the reason people don't know that is because the same media who turns out, the same media operations, because KDK obviously is owned by the TV station who sent their crew down there just like everybody else.
That's right.
The same media who plays in your outrage is also the one feeding you the images, and they're the ones responsible for the fact that you don't know.
That's right.
Who else gets these things? And I'm not saying, look, as somebody who's spent more time than I care to recall warming a bench in that council chamber, I wouldn't want to read about that stuff or have to report on it every day my own self. So I'm not exactly faulting for them, but I think people should just kind of realize that this isn't just this is just how it kind of works.
It doesn't mean anything.
They give you the thing to get outraged about, and then they tell you to be outraged, and then you're outraged. And so there you go.
But that the city hands this out. They do this for anybody who's reached a milestone, who has some, and all it takes is for one member of council.
Yeah.
To say, I would like, and I don't think, I can't imagine they ever really battle anybody about these things.
I think my favorite part about this, though, is that the Tribune Review, when they wrote up this thing, they noted that Bruce Krause and Corey O'Connor, there's always a picture. You get a picture when you hand out the proclamation. All the counselors stand and they do the picture with the recipient. And Corey O'Connor and Bruce Krause were not in the room. And the Trib asked Corey O'Connor why he wasn't there. And he said, I was choking on a cough drop. And I thought, wow, even your gag reflex has a great political instinct, because if you're Corey O'Connor that there's probably a lot of KDKA callers out there in parts of your district, and you don't necessarily want that picture being used against you 3 years down the road.
Well, why would Bruce Krause not go?
I don't know. Maybe the same kind of thing.
No.
Bruce worries a lot about his perception. All politicians do, but
he does because he's openly gay.
No, I think he's just always been, and he's not alone in this. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily what was going on.
But Peduto's the one who's running, and he had his name on it. But he's front and center.
And I would say this: the one thing that I think is sort of, and I tried to ask this on Twitter. I don't know how people have responded to it yet. If you may recall, a few years ago, there was a lot of snickering about a photo that made the rounds online of Luke Ravenstahl hanging out with Snoop Dogg. I think he was down for a Steelers game, and there was a lot of snickering amongst progressive types as well. So I do think it's a fair question. If you thought that was a little ridiculous, if you thought that was silly, and that was Luke on his spare time.
No, Luke likes, one of the perks of the job for Luke, clearly, and it would be for anybody,
right,
is you get to hang with celebrities, movie stars.
Okay, but then is that any different from what council did yesterday?
No.
Okay, that's fine. I'm saying that if you snickered at the one, are you obliged to snicker at the other then, because it was the same kind of celebrity chasing by our elected officials?
They always want to be. I mean, it's a little respite for them. You would think. I mean, not that I want to direct you to listen to that idiot station, but oh my God, you would think the world was coming to an end. There was a woman practically in tears who said she will never, ever respect Bill Peduto again.
Did she actually live in the city or the district?
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But this was the death knell for his
I thought he was such a nice young man. Yeah.
Oh, God. Jeez. And he wore the hat that said dope. But they all think it means pot. You know, he's known as a big pot smoker. Yeah. But dope just doesn't dope mean it's great? If something's dope, it's cool. It's whatever.
Well, I think this is the genius of Wiz Khalifa. Every statement can be read on so many different levels.
That is true. It's multi-layered. And there he was with his pregnant fiancée.
Yep.
Yeah.
My music editor told me, I haven't seen this myself, but he gave an interview and somebody asked him about, what he was looking forward to being a father. He's like, I don't know. I think it'll be fun to change diapers. I like wrapping things. Which actually was really, really very funny, I thought.
Well, he is funny.
Yeah,
you don't get where he got without being clever and having talent. He's got talent, okay? Maybe it ain't your kind of music, but personally, I don't want to listen to Lawrence Welk. Everybody calm down. Jesus, God. People need to get out a little more.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Potter.
Yeah.
Oy.
Did you want to talk about the other council thing? I just saw you had it open there.
Well, the other council thing, it doesn't really float my boat, but they voted to shame owners of properties that are in disrepair. I guess they're going to do like a top 10 list. They'll decide what are the 10 worst buildings in town.
Yes, as measured by violations of building
every
code
and blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to post a sign in front saying, this monstrosity is owned by, and give the name and phone number and address and all that kind of stuff. And it's hoping that the public shaming of owners of these kinds of properties will yield, some progress in maybe cleaning them up. Your thoughts?
It was. I watched that debate yesterday, and I think. There are a couple of things that could be said. I know that the legislation also set up by Bill Peduto has been tried and had some success in other communities. It was tried sort of on a trial basis here.
Here, I vaguely remember.
Back in the late 1990s. And one of the arguments made against it by Mr. Peduto's bête noire on council, as they say in North for Sales, Ricky Burgess. Burgess went out and took a photograph of a sign that was still up from like 1998, and the property behind it had apparently not been rehabilitated. So I think that there's it's probably the person who put it best was Councilor Teresa Kalesmith, who said, look, we're just trying to come up with as many kind of tools in the toolbox as we can to figure out how to deal with this stuff.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. Some landlords clearly aren't going to be susceptible to shaming. And one of the problems.
Well, a lot of them are. A lot of these landlords, first of all, they don't even live here. They're absentee.
That's part landlords. Of it. That's a big part of the issue. Is what do you do with those folks? And the concern that Mr. Burgess raised is, what if you're a tenant living in that building? Do you necessarily want that stigma? And
what do you mean? You're living in this rundown building. What difference does it make?
That's the other side of it. Yeah, and part of the problem is a deteriorated building is sort of its own advertisement.
Excuse me, we got a call.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hola, buenos dias, San Miguel, Palm Springs.
Hey,
what's up?
Not much. Hey, didn't the colonies try that shaming thing before they became a sovereign nation by putting people in stockades and
I was going to
suggest that. Et cetera, and didn't that not work?
Well, I was going to suggest that. I was going to say if this doesn't work, we'll get pillories and stocks.
Horsewhipping.
I think it works a bit. And then there's, you hear about these judges that make people wear signs and stand on intersection corners. Here's the thing. Shaming works if you're capable of being shamed. Generally speaking, the people who exhibit these kinds of behaviors are shameless, I think.
Well, they've done something similar here in Palm Springs. They, California has medicinal marijuana.
Right.
And in Palm Springs, we're one of the few towns that actually license and regulates the stores through council. Now, there are dozens upon dozens of stores that do not have the license that are fully operating. So the city decided to put up this is an unauthorized medical marijuana dispensary sign on all of these doors, and now they're forcing the landlords who are renting to these people to shut them down.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point is, there is something, and I'll say certainly, when I've seen folks, as Lynn mentioned, the ones who sort of end up having to stand at intersections and all that stuff. I mean, I always feel like that rubs me the wrong way, right? There's some distinction with this particular thing somehow, and I think it's because, and I haven't quite worked out what it is, but it has something to do with the fact that you have a building that other people who live around it are forced to kind of suffer from.
It's communal.
And you're attributing a kind of responsibility that otherwise wouldn't be clear, whereas, and incidentally, where other forms of punishment aren't necessarily available.
Right.
So, there does seem a difference like that to me. And the other thing, too, is, and maybe this is just my squishy liberalism or whatever, I can't help but notice that most of the people standing out by those intersections tend to be poor, frequently black. Whereas a property owner is maybe in a slightly better, some of these folks are definitely in a lot better situation than the communities whose properties.
But what's going to happen with all of those properties in Manchester, right along Ohio River Boulevard? That is one of the biggest blights in Pittsburgh.
It is.
Does anybody own those houses? They've been standing there in disrepair, the same disrepair, for 15 years.
You know what, though? I think they're sort of fascinating because they're like, the people who haven't brought in their jack-o'-lanterns that are sitting out on their porches and are, like, decomposing before your eyes. So, like how they start turning
black and
I mean, they're fascinating. I walk by one every day, and it's just fascinating. It's like a science experiment watching it.
Yeah.
And those buildings that you're talking about, I end up driving there maybe once every few months. I just love looking at, now that hole in the roof is even, it's just sort of like watching something,
I'll say this
in and of its own time.
Yeah, it's like
frame.
Now I instead of, passing there every day, because I used to live out in North Hills, work downtown, but now I come in and it's major. It's like, whoa, that whole beam was never there, then it wasn't at that angle.
It's
just I will say this. I don't know about the situation with those houses in Manchester, but I can tell you that some of the properties, and this was discussed at council yesterday and is actually sort of envisioned in the legislation, some of the most blighted properties are actually owned by either the city itself or the URA or some of those agencies. And the legislation is very clear that city-owned properties are not to be treated any differently than those owned by private. So you could see in the not too distant future a sign outside that said, "This property is owned by the Urban Redevelopment Authority, 200 Ross Street," with whatever the 255 phone number is.
Yeah.
So
that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And
so
how do they shame themselves?
Yeah, and that actually, I mean, if you want to talk about sort of what might be sort of an effective, what might be an actual outcome of this, you could see the government sort of having to take a little bit of of ownership of its own role in these situations. There, you would think the government, at least, well, maybe not, would be susceptible to shaming.
Excuse me, the one word the politicians do not know is culpability.
Yeah, indeed. Michael, thanks for the call.
Thanks for the call, man.
Love you all.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, enough.
Would you mind if I made a suggestion?
For a topic?
No, just as a programming note. If we went to break now, we wouldn't have to do 2 breaks 15 minutes apart. I was just thinking,
a smarty pants.
I knew you were going to resent it. I just thought it's 10:20. We could do that.
And there's sort of a lull.
There is.
All right. I will accept your proffered. What's the difference between proffer and offer?
I don't know that there really is one.
Well, then why did they bother making it longer?
That's the joy of English language.
All right. Here's a break.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Discover the most beautiful you with smoother, brighter, and healthier skin. Sewickley Med Spa is now offering special holiday skincare packages for all skin types, including anti-aging, anti-blemish, and sun damage treatments. Not sure what to buy that special someone? Purchase a $100 gift certificate and receive an extra $10 free. Log on to SewickleyMedSpa.com for details. Sewickley Med Spa is conveniently located in downtown Sewickley at 435 Broad Street. Happy holidays from Sewickley Med Spa.
Rhyme so loud and proud, you hear it. It's Christmas time and we got the spirit. Jack Frost chilling, the hawk is out, and that's what Christmas is all about. The time is now, the place is here, and the whole wide world is filled with cheer. So open your eyes, lend us an ear. We want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year!
Happy holidays from Pittsburgh City Paper.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, enough with these this pitter-patter easy crap that we've been talking about. First of all, I want to note Ravi Shankar's passing.
Oh, yeah, I did see something about that.
Oh, you didn't know, Jess? Yeah.
Yeah.
92.
No. Yeah.
Good long life.
Yeah.
Did he ever reconcile with Nora?
I don't know.
His daughter? You don't think they never
Jess
got
doesn't
tight?
think so.
No. That's too bad. Anyway, Ravi Shankar's dead. And that's my obit of the day. However, we need to talk about something that I avoided yesterday, and you're the one to talk to about it.
Oh.
And that'd be right to work.
Oh, okay.
Michigan.
Yeah.
That is really... here, what it does is I'm sorry, I'm sputtering. It makes me... This is my latest thing. This is what happens when you only pay attention to the national election.
Right.
One election every 4 years.
Right.
And Michigan went by, I think, 10 points to Obama.
Yeah.
And yet,
Yep.
Michiganders, as I believe they call themselves, are represented in their state by Republican governor, Republican Senate, Republican House.
Yep.
Much like Pennsylvania,
Yep.
much like Wisconsin, much like one state after the other. And elections have consequences? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And until we get off our high horse and realize that we damn well better start paying attention to these little state legislative districts and this and that, we ain't going to get anything done.
Yeah.
We ain't going to get anything done. We'll be moving backwards. What I want to know is how in a state like Michigan that goes 10 points for Obama do you elect all these bozos? What happens?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always wondered that with your home state. You know, we've talked about that before. How exactly a place with a justly deserved reputation as a hotbed of progressive fervor.
Well, don't forget we gave you Joe McCarthy too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's sort of a weird phenomenon. But I mean, I think you're absolutely right. People just, people don't realize. I think it's just that people don't realize the connection. And maybe it's sort of a nice, if naive thing about us. We don't realize the connection between these little, between the guy who's the glad-handing backslapper in our own community, who then goes and votes the party line, but he's a nice fellow
and is always there when we call.
Exactly, and we don't recognize the connection.
And we happen to go to church with him and this and that.
Exactly.
Hi, caller.
Hi, Hi, then it's Chris. It's PJ from Greensburg.
Hey, PJ.
Yeah, I emailed you about this the other day, and there's a simple word that tells why we're in this situation. It's gerrymandering.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
I mean, it's a huge. There's no way we're going to get, and it's funny because it's kind of like the electoral college thing, the way Pennsylvania and some other states are now trying to split that up. Because you have the vast majority of voters in Pennsylvania vote Democrat.
Yeah.
But it's in selected individual areas.
So we're not.
So if you want popular vote for our representatives, state representatives, you would have a Democratic state representative.
That's right.
But in that case, we're not using the Electoral College, and all those individual little communities send their right-wingers to the state. And plus, Pennsylvania, it doesn't help either that the workers in Pennsylvania like to shoot themselves in the foot by deriding unions and, complaining about, small business being undermined by Democrats and everything like that.
And the guns issue, which is just such a canard, but that works with people,
So,
well, labor in large part to me, since I've moved here, seems to be the classic Reagan Democrats. They're the only reason they're Democrats is because they happen to belong to a union.
Yeah,
and
they're social. They're social, fiscal, every way. They are Republicans, but their dad belonged to a union. They owe a lot to what unions did for them, and so they voted Democrat at one point, and they're Democrats, but they're not. They're Republicans.
And let's also bear in mind the difference here too as well. I mean, I think what's happening that's interesting on the state level here in Pennsylvania is Tom Corbett has been asked in recent days about what he thought about doing this, and he has said, and he's been pretty consistent all along about this, is it's not something he's not looking to pick this fight with labor. And while there are certain firebrands,
was Michigan's governor.
Yeah, well, that's what though. I mean, that's what he says. I don't know that I necessarily buy that. And it's also true that within the legislature, there's there doesn't seem to be the same kind of consensus for it here, and I don't know whether that's because there are still enough Republicans who come from outside the Philadelphia area, or just what that dynamic is. But it seems like it's been a little surprising to me that we haven't seen this, although we could.
Okay, well let's also point the finger at where this is coming from, where so much of this stuff comes from, and in this case is coming from, is that ALEC. I always forget.
American Legislative Exchange Council.
Which is funded by right-wingers and corporations, and they put these bills. It's
unelected individuals.
That's right. And here's where the money's coming from, in large part. Koch.
Well, and here's the other thing. Yeah, the Michigan governor said, "I don't want to take up that fight. I don't want to do that stuff." And then the election happens. It's payback.
Yeah.
It's them saying, you know what? You won the election. Ha, ha, ha.
Watch what we can do.
Exactly.
And
okay, guys. Keep up the good
thanks
fight.
for the call.
Bye.
I mean, one of the things I think is remarkable about it is, ordinarily Republicans are the first people to tell you there's no such thing as a free lunch. but if you really think about what this bill does, the union still represents all those workers.
No, it's a moocher bill.
So if you have a grievance, you still go to your union person, even if you're not paying them. It's like
it
offends the very idea of fairness.
It offends the very idea of fairness. People don't understand what that means. Is what they've said now is if you can pocket the dues that you had to before give to your union. You can put those in your pocket. Now, let the guy sitting next to you pay union dues.
Right.
You, however, without paying a penny, will get the benefit of everything that union bargains for you. All of your pay, your benefits, you are taking a free ride, and you are letting your colleagues, the person next to you on the line, foot your share. It is despicable. Right to work my ass. And as the president said, what it is, it's the right to work for less.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're so good at putting these monikers on their stuff. Right to work. Right to work. Right to let other people you work with carry the burden while you just take the gravy.
And flatter yourself for standing on your own 2 feet and being an independent.
It's just an outrage.
Blah, blah.
It's just an outrage.
I know union people. I know people who've worked as shop stewards, and that's one of the things they'll often tell you is that if they've been in these other states, is a lot of times the people who are the most demanding
are the ones who don't pay.
Yeah, I mean, it's always not people who want stuff for free. Not surprisingly, tend to have a tremendous sense of entitlement. You know what I mean? Like they feel like they're entitled to that, and it makes them even more difficult. Than any regular grievance to handle.
Well, it's exactly what I thought of your point, that this is a classic moocher legislation.
Yeah.
This is how to get something for nothing. Chuck writes, after each general presidential election, Democrats go to sleep for 4 years. That is correct. They do not show up for small local elections, for midterm elections, nor state elections. And that's how I explain states like Pennsylvania and Michigan who vote Democrat for president but vote Republican for everything else. And that explains how we lost the House in 2010, too. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And once you do that and you allow the Republicans to take control of state legislatures, then they have the power to gerrymander and to create districts that essentially will disenfranchise Democrats.
Yeah, and to take it one step
worked beautifully.
And to take it one step further, let's recall that as the caller previously mentioned, if we go with, and they're still talking about this in Harrisburg now, if you go with a thing where you start allocating your electoral votes, I mean, most of the analysis that I've seen, there's a couple different proposals out there, but generally speaking, you could have a situation where most Pennsylvanians voted for Barack Obama, but somehow his rival walks away with the majority of electoral votes. I mean, that in itself is frankly undemocratic. You don't even have to go that far. Look at the voter ID bill. I mean, these guys, what they do the results of this off-year elections, it's not just confined. What happens in 2010 doesn't just stay in 2010. It reshapes the landscape, even for these national and statewide.
Okay, but so what do we do about it?
Yeah, I mean,
the fact is, we know the problem. There it is, and it's our problem.
Right.
Apparently, the Obama campaign has the greatest get-out-the-vote machinery in the universe.
Right.
Well, then, I'm hoping that the Democrats at leadership levels and states that they are sharing all of that they will not let up, that we will see the same efforts made. And there'll have to be greater efforts because you're talking to people who don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Democrats' need to educate our voters.
Yeah, and that is really going to be. I mean, I totally agree with you. That is really going to be the test. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting that you're already hearing, and this is probably not that unusual, but there's already a lot of talk within Democratic circles about who are we getting to run for governor against Tom Corbett. Most of the names being bandied about probably won't be familiar to a Western Pennsylvania audience, actually. I mean, you hear about Allison Schwartz, who's a congresswoman from the Philadelphia area. You hear about Rob McCord, who's the state treasurer currently. You hear about some other folks, Tim Solobay, a legislator from down Washington County way. What they're trying very hard to do is avoid having a contested primary there. In order to kind of smooth the skid, grease the skids for a challenge against Corbett in 2014. So they're thinking about it. They're already working about it. But I totally agree with you. The question is really going to be where the rubber meets the road. You would have liked to have thought that
the voters out.
You would have liked to have thought that in 2008, when Obama won, and he had a pretty good ground game back then, that some of that would have translated to 2010, and it didn't. Hopefully, they learned that lesson. There was a lot of back in 2008. There's a lot of stuff about kind of is Organizing for America really on the same page as the Democratic Party out here? Because you remember a lot of the Democratic establishment got behind Hillary Clinton during the primary season.
Oh yeah.
In this part of the state, and so there was always I think there was always some friction. Hopefully, that stuff simply will no longer be an issue, and the Democrats will have learned those lessons and really be in a position to apply them. And we'll see how it goes. I think, but you're absolutely right. If we don't get the message of that 2010, if we forget it after 4 short years, and all the misery it's caused us and will continue to cause us, then we deserve what we get.
Yeah, indeed. Do we though? I don't.
Speak for yourself, Potter.
I don't think.
We got a caller. Go ahead, caller.
Hello.
Hi.
I threatened Toomey because for voting for what he did about the disability. His election's up in 2016 when the Democrats get their voters out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up in 2016.
That's the problem. Is
okay, we can get him out then.
Is in the off year and it's the Democrats' own fault. I'm a Democrat, and I'm proud of them. I'm a liberal progressive.
Right.
And I vote every election.
Me too.
And I'm also a committee man. I was a union steward. I own my small business. I'm a veteran.
Whoa!
And I bring up all these things to Toomey, whom I disagree with totally on everything.
Sure. Yeah.
And I called him. What's more important, a veteran or a small business owner, than a Tea Party person?
Yeah. What did he say?
He hasn't answered me yet.
Oh, you'll get some form letter anyway. He's not going to.
It was just remarkable. I mean, it's the Democrats' own fault that this mess occurs.
Yeah.
You're right.
And Toomey's slick too. You know, that vote on the disability thing.
They just can't. I mean, they just can't get it through their head that there are things more important than their guns.
Yeah.
I hate to say
your guns that nobody's taking away from you.
I was 100 at one time, and I mean, to me, it's just ridiculous.
I know.
Some of their feelings about things.
I know. It really is.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks. Nice to talk to you.
Nobody's even taking their guns. That's the thing. Even if that was the most important issue you do.
We've learned that. Reality doesn't matter. Here's the other thing about what this right to work stuff is really about. Okay? Right to work is really about hamstringing unions, obviously, depriving them of money. Because why? Because the unions, even though they are in as sorry a state as they've been for over 100 years, the unions are one of the bulwarks of the Democratic base.
Right.
And so if you go after that pillar of the Democratic base and chip away at it and weaken it and cost it money, well, that just means the Democrats are not going to be as strong.
Yeah, right.
So the Republicans, give them this. You can kick them in the teeth. You can beat them up. They just keep coming, and they think of whatever from their lower position. They never stop. They'll do what they have to do. They'll take over school boards,
right? And
then from the school boards, they'll take over city councils, and then from city councils, they'll take these puny little representative districts that who the hell is. Then they'll do the state senate. Then they'll do the governors, and ultimately, they might not have they might not be the king, but they have huge power in the court.
Right. And they just have the basic advantage, as we're seeing in Congress, I mean, of that doing nothing. If you believe in limited government, obstructionism is not just a successful tactic; it's also your strategy. I mean, it's your end goal. So there's a perfect alignment between.
It's just wonderful. You really don't have anything to do.
Yeah. And they're smart. I mean, even Toomey, as I was going to say before, even Toomey, you look at, what did he say about that disability bill?
What did he say?
He signed a letter with this Mike Lee of Utah a few months back that basically said, we don't want to vote. We don't want to have to vote on any treaties. It was the Law of the Sea Treaty that was specifically at issue, but this one was sort of in the air too. We don't want to vote on any treaty during the lame duck period because there are so many more important things for us to focus on. We need to work on this economic thing. So it's a great way of sort of neutralizing. So he's currying favor with his base, and believe me, you should see some of the stuff that, some of the attaboys he got from some of the crazies, just like from his Twitter feed or whatever. It's far out.
I know. You always said he's a very bright man.
He's very adroit.
He's adroit. He knows damn well that the United Nations is not taking over America and the sovereignty issue. And yet he beds down every night with these loons. Yeah. And I hope he enjoyed his stint in the Senate, because it's going to be one term Toomey, and then one term Toomey. I'm taking another break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Winter has arrived and it's cold outside, so get to Little's for all your UGG needs. Little's has Uggs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. And don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more. All available at Little's Shoes. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store UGG shops in the U.S. Little Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on your favorite local restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 65% on tickets to the Pittsburgh Symphony's Holiday Pops. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's exclusive e-commerce mall. bergbargains.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Okay, I was just... You notice the other big subject that I'm avoiding, like the plague, is the fiscal cliff. I said, wake me up when it's over, because first of all, there's nothing I can do, okay? I mean, I can call my congressman and say, make sure, but, my congressman's on board. You guys who've got Murphy as a congressman.
Or Mike Kelly.
You guys could do something. You guys do have something to do, but it won't take you long. You write them a letter, you call, you this, you that, you threaten, cajole and plead, whatever. But
recognize they don't care.
I don't know. I can't. I'm so disgusted with the whole scene. I really can't look.
Right, but that's what
they want to do.
They count on the fact that any sane person. I've used this metaphor before, but I just think of Republicans as being the crazy guy on the bus who just screams at the top of his lungs. And as a result, everybody moves away from him, and he gets a seat to himself.
That's right.
It's just like, essentially that's it. They get to stake out whatever territory they want to stake out because thinking people just hear that nonsense and shut down.
Oh, it's just brilliant. Here, again, I saw this in the Wall Street Journal today. So now we are down to one in the entire state of Mississippi. There's one clinic that provides abortions. Yep. There are many states like that. And as a matter of fact, I think there's one state, one of the Dakotas, that doesn't even have a place. So this is interesting. Abortion is legal, absolutely legal, and yet you can't get it. It's as if, tonsillectomies are legal, but sorry, you can't get it. So there never before has a legal medical procedure essentially been outlawed by state legislatures. Owned by Republicans. This is another thing they've done. And they are doing it here in Harrisburg, and they're doing it with these harassing laws that are passed that require, let's say, all of a sudden an abortion clinic to have doorways of a certain thing or an elevator that goes here, saying that they're... And these things cost a ton of money then to have to comply with. They are totally unnecessary, pure harassment. In Mississippi, they passed a law saying that any doctor working at this clinic, the one that's left, has to have visiting privileges at nearby hospitals. Well, guess what? In Mississippi, you can't even get a doctor willing to do this. So that their doctors are being brought in, travel from out of state. The docs do to get in. Yeah. And they are not given visiting privilege. Yeah. So, in fact, this new law is going to close down the only place where you could get a totally legal medical procedure done in the state of Mississippi. The clinic has asked for an injunction, asked for it in federal court. Whether or not they get it, I don't know. But this is Republicans. You say no to them, or you say, sorry. They're amazing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I tip my hat to them in this respect. They just keep coming up with ways to hamper, they'd be like great guerrilla fighters, I guess. Right?
Oh, yes.
Because the guerrilla fighter has less, doesn't have the might. They don't have the federal law. They don't have that to go with. And yet they still manage, even though abortion is legal, if you make it so impossible to get, it's essentially illegal.
Right. We should point out as well that I believe Mississippi has the highest rate of teen pregnancy in the United States. Certainly one of them year after year, if not the highest every year. So, you really gotta kind of ask yourself what the the sad thing is, who knows how that plays out. I mean, do I feel confident about how the United States Supreme Court would ultimately rule on a challenge to this? I sure don't.
No. And how do you feel about what they're going to do with gay marriage?
Actually, I actually feel more optimistic about some form of gay marriage surviving this court. Because Kennedy, I think, is on the right side of the issue.
They took the two cases, but I think the case that looks like there's no way that even an ideologue like Scalia can find a way to say that DOMA is constitutional.
He'll find a way.
Okay, fine. He'll find a way. And then
don't underestimate his legal illusion.
No. So I think the fear is that they're going to find that the Defense of Marriage Act is unconstitutional, and consequently that where gay people have married in states that allow marriage, the federal government has got to honor that marriage document. And thus, those people will get all the federal benefits that accrue to a married couple. But in the other case from California, it could be that what they will say is states have the right to decide this issue on their own.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see if that creates a diaspora of any sort, where gay people will simply move to states where they are treated like full citizens. If I were gay, I would do it in a minute.
I mean, I think to some extent you see that happen, maybe not across states so much, but certainly within them, right? I mean, and sadly, it factors into the gerrymandering debate. How much of the concentration of Democratic voters is now concentrated in urban areas? It's partly because people are gravitating towards the types of communities that they feel welcome and respect.
We're self-segregating is what we're doing. Hello.
Go ahead, caller.
Hello, it's Michael again. I don't know how gay I am, but I am homosexual. I don't really want to get married, but I think that everybody should have a right to get married.
Absolutely. That's right.
But what happens if a gay couple marries in, say, California, and one of them's job is transferred to, say, Nebraska?
Right.
And then they no longer share the same federal fiscal benefits of that partnership. How can that be constitutional?
So in order
How can you move from one state to another if
you're going to lose
you're
civil
still
rights?
A slave to your job?
But you don't have right now. You don't have federal benefits no matter where you live. That's the federal law.
No, but he's saying, how can the Supreme Court say yes on the one and no on the other? It still creates situations where gay. Excuse me, you don't like the word gay?
No. I just was using that as a silly little joke.
Gay Americans they don't have the same freedom.
I mean, well, look. I mean, one of my writers here, Lauren Daly. I'm not telling tales out of school. She's written about this.
Right.
She and her partner had to go to New York State to get married, and then they came back here. And right now, they basically have zero in the way of any kind of legal right. So
I mean, if I were to be married to someone here, in California, I would be able to go and visit them in the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. If we had children, I wouldn't worry about somebody else coming in and taking them away.
Right.
But I go to another state.
Yeah.
Have to go to another state simply to live, exist, and I can't do that.
Right.
All of my rights would be taken away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, and that's where the whole states' rights thing will probably come in. That typically speaking, rights of, when it comes to, say, divorce court and things like that about child visitation and all that kind of stuff, those have typically been decided at the state level. There's not like a federal divorce law, right? There are state divorce laws. So so in some sense, the law allows it is crazy. The situation you're talking about, I agree with you, is crazy. But just because it's insane doesn't mean it's not constitutional. Remember, this is the same Constitution that gave us the 3/5 compromise. So it wouldn't be the first time that that document is hedged on basic human rights.
It's kind of like what Bill Maher said, that the Bible is being totally lawyerized, so that the phrase "love thy neighbor as thyself" is do as I say before I release the tungsten-toothed dog to rip your balls off.
Would you back up and wait? Would you back up and say that all again?
Bill Maher made the statement that the Bible is being so lawyerized that the attorneys are trying to figure out how to take the phrase "love thy neighbor as thyself" to "do as I say, or I will rip this tungsten-toothed dog to rip off your balls."
Okay, all right.
Thanks for the call again, man.
Thanks very much.
Sure thing.
Bye.
That just gets me back to the Toomey thing. And one of the things I'm struck by is the one book of the Bible you think all these right-wingers read is Leviticus, right? That's the one that's, you shall not lay down with the man as with the woman. It is an abomination. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things there, and it's not far away from that line, is something that says, do not put a stumbling block before the blind. And as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what Pat Toomey did. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what they did.
Right.
And it's just, I read the thing too. And it's not what you say it is, and it's not what you think it is. And I'm sure there's some right-winger out there who has a very subtle reading about why it doesn't really apply or whatever, even though they will demand that we take the portions of the Bible they like literally. They're going to have their own creative interpretation of it. It's exactly...
This came up yesterday. I didn't know with Lot that God commanded Lot to sleep with his own daughters.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, how did the literalists get around that, baby?
Well, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Well, there's a lot of that in the Old Testament.
A lot, yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Unbelievable. And just so we keep you up to date on what's going on in this wonderful, bizarro nation we live in, a federal court has ruled that an Illinois law is unconstitutional. That Illinois law bars people, other than law enforcement officers, from carrying a loaded gun outside of their homes.
Openly or concealed or any old way you want to wear it.
Any old way, I guess.
So now it is legal to carry a gun outside your home.
Now
any
you
way
can
you want to do it.
Yeah, here's Judge Richard Posner writing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
One of the
to
good ones.
speak of bearing arms within one's home would at all times have been an awkward usage. A right to bear arms thus implies a right to carry a loaded gun outside the home.
As a
only a jurist could
what can
say.
I don't even really know what to say.
I don't know what to say to that either.
Yeah.
But there you have it. Loaded guns in public. The court
when do you think
spoken.
When do you think will there come a point where the NRA just says, our work here is done?
No, obviously not. Not until
if we come to a point where everyone in the entire country is able to just strut down the street wielding. If we're required to carry guns down the street, will that be enough?
That won't be enough. Hello, caller.
Go ahead, caller.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hey, Lynn. What do you think of these people that believe that God controls everything that's going on this earth right now? They always say, well, that's the way God wanted it. This is what God wanted.
That's right.
I think, to me, it's a bunch of BS. I personally think if God had any control of any of this stuff, then he must be an evil God, because there's a lot of shit that he could be straightening out right now. And that's my whole line on it. I say you're on your own down here.
Yeah.
I agree.
You might be created by God, but I think you're on your own.
That's right.
That's just my opinion.
You got a good opinion, as usual. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
That's your favorite new caller.
I love that guy. I love that guy. He just cuts right through all the crap, and he's absolutely right. People who actually think that God, that there's someone up there micromanaging everything you do, talking to you and stuff like that, telling you what to do. What a nice way not to take responsibility for much of anything, right? Isn't it, in a way?
Right. Or it's tricky because on the one hand, right, part of the value of faith to people is that they feel as though even when bad things happen or whatever, that that there's some consolation for that in them, right? Don't you think that's true? I mean, when a bad things happen, they say, "Well, give it up to God. This must be God's will. I can only reconcile myself to it." Da 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 da.
Well, that's just if you've got the capacity to do that, to believe that, I guess good for you. But.
Or conversely, to people, the one person who walks away from the airline accident and says where everybody else in the plane was killed and says it must be God's will, which is always just like, well, what is it? Does that mean that God wanted everybody else to die?
I mean, no, come on. It doesn't pass the smell test. It just is bullshit, guys. If it gives you comfort, fine and dandy. Do you think people who believe in God are less afraid of dying than people who don't?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't think
It would be hard to really measure
I don't think so at all. Seems to me if you believed all of it, you want to die.
Yeah. I mean, for that matter, if you believed in all of it, you'd be pro-abortion because then basically you're just speeding those little zygotes straight on up into paradise.
Yeah,
or whatever,
why even bother with this veil of tears? Send them right up there to God, the warm bosom of God. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Excuse me.
Exactly.
Okay. This doesn't seem proper with the Christmas
holidays
season.
coming up.
Yes.
So
I don't know.
Are we doing a show next week, a week after? What's our
next
thing?
week? Next week's nothing special. Yes, we are. We're doing a show next week.
Okay, but not the week after.
However, Christmas week, I say...
Yeah,
take it off!
That would be the 26th. That would be the day after.
We're out.
Okay, it would be Boxing Day, as a matter of fact.
That's right, Boxing Day. I'm going to take that whole week off. You know why? Because after 100 years in this business, I have found out that week between Christmas and the New Year
is... A little slow.
Yeah. Woo! It, guys, is impossible to get a talk show going.
Yeah.
I mean, not much happens, and everybody's schedule's different. Nobody's listening to you. So, yeah, I'm definitely taking that off.
All right, well.
Okay, so...
Then I guess I won't be here either. Just sitting in the darkened studio.
So you come in next week, though.
I will be here.
Okay. And then we'll be here after the New Year.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Well.
Yep.
The New Year. Oh, we didn't even note that today is 12/12/12, and never again in our lifetimes will there be one of those dates.
Wow.
We were around for 111, 222, 323, 444.
Boy, it's going by so
over.
fast.
The next one will be, the next date like that will be January 1st, 2020.
Oh, 10101.
Yeah.
Yeah.
111. 2001. Wait, what year is it?
It's 2012.
Yeah, it'll be 21.
This show's kind of petering out here.
All right, okay. I don't keep numbers in my head. Thank you very much, Potter. We did not even talk about your rag today. Is there anything that's out on the streets?
Of course, it's great.
It's great.
Lots of good stories. Stories about biker automobile confrontations and conflagrations. Stories about the future of the Strip District and the site nearby, and what will happen to that.
Site.
Yeah, the Buncher site.
Okay, well, that's good. That's all good. And did you see, by the way, that more bicyclists are dying while fewer people in cars are dying? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That's nationally and every way. We're mowing over bikers and pedestrians.
And more of them out there, I suppose.
Because people are buckling their seatbelts, fewer motorists are dying. Just a little factoid for you. I'm sorry. Okay. I can't help it. I scare the shit out of myself, too. Have a great day, guys. Tom Sokolowski tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.